The cobblestone streets of Melbourne, usually bustling with life, fell silent in September 2012. A chilling absence hung in the air, a void left by the disappearance of Jill Meagher, a young woman whose vibrant spirit had touched everyone she met. Her name, once synonymous with laughter and warmth, became a whispered plea for justice, a stark reminder of the vulnerability that lurked beneath the city's vibrant facade. Jill, a beloved Irish-Australian journalist, had simply stepped out for a night with friends, a routine Friday evening that would forever alter the course of her life. Her disappearance, in a neighbourhood she knew well, sent shockwaves through the community. The frantic search for answers, the desperate pleas of her family, and the relentless pursuit of justice by the police became a national obsession. As CCTV footage revealed the chilling truth of her final moments, the nation watched in horror, united in grief and demanding accountability for the unimaginable tragedy that had befallen Jill. Gillian Jill Meagher, originally named Gillian McKeon, was born on October 30th, 1982, in Drogheda, County Louth, Ireland. She spent her early years in the village of Termonfeckin, north of Drogheda. Her family later moved to Australia when her father, George McKeon, secured a job in Perth. There, Jill attended Bull Creek Primary School and Rossmoyne High School. However, in 1996, at age 14, she returned to Ireland with her family. She continued her education at Drogheda Grammar School and St Oliver's Community College, eventually earning a Bachelor of Arts degree from University College Dublin. Soon after, she joined RTE, Ireland's national broadcaster, launching her career in media. In 2008, Jill married Tom Meagher, and the following year they made the move back to Australia. Jill joined the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, ABC, as a unit coordinator and stayed closely connected with her parents, who were now settled in Perth, Western Australia. In the fall of 2012, after her father suffered a stroke, Jill flew to Perth to be with her family. In a touching moment, she encouraged her father to recover so he could one day play with her future children. This glimpse into her life reflects her devotion to family and her hopeful outlook on the future. On the evening of September 21st, 2012, Jill joined colleagues to celebrate a co-worker's birthday. Around 9 p.m, she and several others moved the gathering to the Brunswick Green Hotel on Sydney Road, Brunswick, where they continued their night out. By 1 a.m, most of the group had left, but Jill strolled along Sydney Road with one friend to bar etiquette, hoping to enjoy one last drink before ending the evening. Around 1:30 a.m, Jill decided to head home from the second bar, politely declining her friend's offer to walk with her, reassuring him it was just a short 5-minute walk. She said her goodbyes and set off toward the flat she shared with her husband Tom. No one could have anticipated that this ordinary Friday night would soon spiral into a tragedy that would captivate the entire nation. On her walk, she called her brother, Michael McKeon, sharing a few words about their father's health, a conversation that would become the last anyone would ever have with her. By 4 a.m, Tom Meagher awoke to realize his wife hadn't come home, a highly unusual occurrence. Concerned, he got out of bed, tried calling her, and reached out to friends, but no one knew where she was. Worried, he took to the streets, searching the route between the bar and their flat, but there was no sign of her. Tom then contacted the police to report her missing. The search for Jill quickly expanded as her ABC colleagues posted appeals on Twitter, asking anyone with information to step forward. A Facebook page was created to spread the word, while flyers and posters appeared throughout the area where she was last seen. Police interviewed Tom and gathered evidence from their home, soon ruling him out as a suspect so they could focus fully on finding Jill. 2 days after Jill's disappearance, on September 24th, police discovered her purse lying near Hope Street in Brunswick, just a short distance from her home. This find struck investigators as strange. They were convinced the purse hadn't been there during their initial search of the area. Then, on September 25th, police received CCTV footage from the Duchess Boutique, a bridal shop on Sydney Road near the Hope Street intersection. Responding to police requests for security footage from local businesses, the shop's camera provided a limited but crucial glimpse of the sidewalk outside its doors and display window, setting the stage for a critical breakthrough in the case. The CCTV footage revealed a man in a blue hoodie outside on the night Jill vanished. Just minutes later, at 1:42 a.m, Jill is seen interacting with him. She pauses, glances back, and waves her phone in his direction before continuing on her way. This brief encounter is the last known image of Jill that any camera in the area recorded. Through this footage, police identified the man as Adrian Ernest Bailey, a 41-year-old serial sex offender who, disturbingly, was out on parole at the time. When police first spoke with Bailey, he claimed to have no connection to Jill, insisting he hadn't seen her that night. He explained he had been out searching for his girlfriend after a fight before eventually heading home. However, mounting evidence began to point directly at him. On September 27th, around 2:30 p.m., Bailey was arrested at his Coburg home and brought in for further questioning. When police traced the movement of Bailey's and Jill's cell phones, they discovered both had travelled together through a toll booth heading toward Gisborne, but only Bailey's phone returned. During a search of his home, police uncovered Jill's SIM card. Confronted with this evidence, including the cell phone trace and the SIM card discovery, Bailey had no explanation. Under mounting pressure from the accumulating evidence, Bailey eventually confessed. He explained that he'd noticed Jill on the street around 1:30 a.m., speaking on her phone. Waiting until she ended the call, he approached her and began walking beside her as she continued down the street. When she turned onto Hope Street, he made an unwanted advance, attempting to grab her and kiss her. Jill resisted, pulling away and slapping him in rejection. Overcome with rage, Bailey forced himself on Jill in a nearby alleyway, ignoring her screams and pleas to stop. When she threatened to call the police, he became violent, strangling her. He then left her lifeless in the alley while he went back to Coburg to retrieve his car and a shovel. Around 4:20 a.m., he returned, placed Jill's body in his vehicle, and drove to Gisborne in South Victoria, where he buried her in a shallow grave off Black Hill Road. Later that night, at 10 p.m., Bailey led police to the burial site. Forensic examinations confirmed she had been assaulted and had sustained injuries indicating strangulation. In the early hours of September 28, 2012, Bailey faced charges of rape and murder. At a swift 3 a.m. court hearing that lasted only 90 seconds, he was remanded to await trial. While in custody, Bailey attempted to take his own life. The case ignited a wave of media coverage and public outrage, not only because Jill had been attacked in a typically safe area, but also due to the shocking revelation that Bailey had been on parole for prior sex offences at the time of Jill's brutal murder. From his teenage years, Bailey was a lurking menace, a sexual predator lurking in the shadows. His first recorded act of violation occurred at the tender age of 18, when he assaulted a 16-year-old girl within the confines of his own home. His reign of terror didn't stop there. Within a year, 2 more women fell victim to his heinous acts, leading to his incarceration for a 5-year term. However, he was back on the streets after serving a mere 2 years. His release only fueled his monstrous tendencies as he went on to assault 5 more women, all sex workers. He would ensnare them in his car, drive them behind a line of shops, and park in such a way that escape was impossible. Despite receiving an 11-year sentence for his crimes, he was once again set free after serving just 7 years, this time on parole. While out on parole, Bailey committed yet another violent act, attacking a man so brutally that he fractured his jaw and left him unconscious. Although he was sentenced to 3 months in jail, he managed to avoid serving time due to a legal loophole related to an appeal, leaving him free to continue his crimes. Tragically, it was Jill Meagher who became his next victim. Initially, Bailey claimed he would fight the charges against him, but by April 5, 2013, he pleaded guilty to both the rape and murder of Jill. However, just weeks later, on April 26th, he denied involvement in several other assaults that had occurred in Melbourne dating back to 2000. During a pre-sentencing hearing on June 11, 2013, powerful victim impact statements were read aloud to the court. These included emotional testimonies from Jill's husband, her family, close friend Effie Lyons, and Catherine Hurley, her former supervisor at ABC. Hurley's statement revealed the deep emotional toll Jill's death had taken on her colleagues, many of whom sought counselling through the ABC Employee Assistance Programme to cope with the tragedy. At this hearing, Justice Jeffrey Nettle also lifted a suppression order, allowing Bailey's disturbing history of rape and violence to be made public. The shocking revelations that followed sparked a firestorm of media attention and public outrage. On June 19, 2013, just over a week later, the Victorian Supreme Court was filled with spectators as Adrian Bailey was sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum term of 35 years. Outside the courtroom, Jill's family and friends gathered, expressing their relief and sense of justice now that Bailey had been held accountable for his heinous crimes. Bailey, however, tried to challenge the severity of his sentence, lodging an appeal through Victorian Legal Aid, arguing that the 35-year minimum was excessively harsh. He also denied the claim made by Justice Nettle that he had taken perverted pleasure in Jill's sexual assault and murder. But his appeal was swiftly dismissed in a mere 10 minutes after a brief hearing, during which both sides presented their arguments. By March 2015, the full extent of Adrian Bailey's horrific crimes came to light. In a series of trials held throughout 2014 and 2015, he was convicted of 3 more rapes he had committed before the murder of Jill Meagher. 2 sex workers and a Dutch backpacker courageously came forward after recognizing Bailey in media reports about Jill's tragic death. These new convictions brought his total to 12 sexual crimes against women. In response, County Court Judge Sue Pullen sentenced Bailey to an additional 18 years in prison, while also increasing his minimum sentence from 35 to 43 years, ensuring he would spend many more decades behind bars. Adrian Bailey once again sought to appeal his minimum sentence, this time about one of his sexual assault convictions. The result was a 3-year reduction, bringing his sentence down to 40 years. This adjustment made him eligible for parole in 2055, when he would be 83 years old. Throughout his trials, Bailey's lawyer attempted to evoke sympathy, arguing that Bailey suffered from borderline personality disorder, alcoholism, and a troubled past marked by physical and sexual abuse. Despite these claims, the judge remained unmoved. During the sentencing, it was noted that Bailey had shown signs of distress and panic after taking Jill's life. However, the judge dismissed his tears, stating that they were not for his victim, but for his fate, fearful of returning to prison rather than expressing remorse for the horrors he had inflicted on yet another innocent woman. The public's fury over Bailey's brutal crime posed significant challenges in securing a fair trial. After he was charged with the sexual assault and murder of Jill, social media erupted with outrage and numerous Facebook pages were created to condemn him. Victoria Police were forced to take extensive measures to remove these pages and block the creation of new ones, fearing the negative impact on potential jurors who might be influenced by the widespread hostility. Recognizing the threat to impartiality, the Premier of Victoria, Ted Baillieu, suggested that legal reforms might be needed to prevent such public outcry from affecting future cases. While his efforts for change were unsuccessful, the role of social media in shaping public opinion remains a major concern in the legal community today. Jill's tragic sexual assault and murder by a parolee sparked significant changes in Victoria's parole laws. By June 2013, reforms were implemented to ensure harsher penalties for parole violations, including up to 3 months of imprisonment and a fine of $4,200. This allowed police to take swift action if a parolee breached their conditions, returning them directly to jail without the delay of a court hearing, preventing them from being free to commit more crimes. Jill's case also brought to light other critical issues, including flaws in the Victoria Police DNA database. Bailey's DNA, which had been collected after a 2001 assault, had not been included, allowing him to slip through the system. In response, there were calls to establish a full-time parole board, requiring offenders to prove they were low risk before being considered for parole. Additionally, the outdated paper filing system was criticized, and it was recommended that an electronic database be implemented to better manage parole records and prevent future oversights. Initially, the Victorian coroner had planned an inquest into Jill Meagher's death, but by April 2015, it was dropped. The Meagher family expressed their gratitude for the decision, explaining that their sole desire was closure. In the aftermath of Jill's tragic murder, there were numerous vigils, memorials, and marches that not only honored her life, but also raised awareness about the failure of the justice system to protect women from repeat offenders like Bailey. Jill's husband, Tom Meagher, left Australia in August 2013, returning to his hometown of Cabinteely, Ireland. However, He came back briefly in November 2014 to support the White Ribbon campaign, which aims to end violence against women. Jill Meagher's once joyous laughter, a familiar sound in the vibrant heart of Melbourne, was tragically silenced, leaving behind an unsettling void. Her brutal death, a horrific act of violence, shattered the city's soul and sparked a nationwide wave of grief, anger, and calls for justice. Jill's story became a painful yet powerful reminder of the dangers women face every day, igniting a collective determination to bring about change. From the depths of this tragedy, a movement for safety and accountability emerged. People came together, united in their resolve to honor Jill's memory by demanding a world where no one ever has to fear for their life. Her legacy, a powerful symbol of resilience and hope, continues to inspire efforts aimed at transforming public spaces into safer places for all. Conversations continue to challenge societal norms and advocate for a future where fear no longer holds sway. Jill's memory shines as a beacon of hope, reminding us that the fight for a safer world is ongoing, and it is a promise that must be kept. If you found this video compelling, leave a like and your thoughts in the comments. Be sure to subscribe and watch our other videos.